Mark Schreiber, thank you for joining us here on New Mexico in Focus.
Thank you very much, Russell, for having me on. I appreciate it.
The group Save the Children just released its annual report on child poverty, and the report this year had some stunning statistics nationally, especially for kids who live in rural areas in the deep south and in areas where there's a high percentage of Native American populations. What did the report say?
Well, first of all, it's the first ever report that looked at countywide indicators on child well-being, Russell. It is looked at over 2,600 counties in America, ranked them from the top, which is in New Jersey, and the bottom one, which is in Alaska. Folks can go to SaveTheChildren.org/report and see the childhood report there, see how their county's doing, and ask their political leadership to make substantial and systematic changes for kids. So we not only ranked each county, but we ranked each state. And in New Mexico, unfortunately dropped this year one spot to 47 out of 50 states. And we looked at a number of indicators there, and I'm just making sure that I'm reading the statistics right. But New Mexico is 50 out of 50 when it comes to child food security, which means 1 in 4 kids in New Mexico is not guaranteed a nutritious meal on a regular basis. It's also bottom 50 out of 50 when it comes to high school graduation rates, and 48th out of 50 on child homicide rates, and 42nd when it comes to teen pregnancy rates. So these are tough statistics for the state of New Mexico. We've done a lot of work, Save the Children has, with Governor Lujan Grisham and other leaders in the state legislature to try to increase the investment in early childhood education, which we think is a strong step in the right direction.
Among the things in the report, when you're talking about food security, this is a combination of just hunger and also access to quality food. What's going on in these counties where we're seeing this food insecurity gap?
Well, you're seeing it not only in New Mexico, but you're seeing it across, particularly the South, in the Southeast. And as we talked about a second ago, you're seeing it in minority, majority counties. So counties that are majority African American in the deep South and rural are struggling amazing in numbers. And Native Americans, again, that are in rural America, Native American majority districts are also struggling, some of the hardest hit counties in the country. And you're seeing a lack of access to high quality food, and you're seeing a lack of money, frankly, and commitment from the federal government to help supplement people's need for high nutritious food. So often, Russell, as we've talked about in the past, politicians or elected officials say, hey, kids are our most important resource. But when the rubber hits the road, and when you look at the investments as a country, we don't invest in high quality early childhood education, where 90% of brain growth happens in the first 5 years of life. Yet as a country, we don't invest in most cases until children are in kindergarten. You don't see a commitment to making sure that there's a safety net for families so that they can access high quality food. And then you end up seeing New Mexico in last place when it comes to food security. And you see kids in counties all across New Mexico, in Quay County and in Luna County, where those kids are struggling with food insecurity. They're struggling with poor education, and they're at risk of dying in early childhood and right on through 18 years of age. It's really outrageous. I mean,
one of the things you guys recommend, and you pointed out the graduation rates, and New Mexico is again lower on ranked in terms of graduating students in a 4-year time frame. But the group recommends the expansion of early childhood education programs that are holistic. What are those exactly that the group is recommending that places like New Mexico invest in?
So Save the Children has long worked not only in America, but in rural America with an emphasis on education, and particularly early childhood education. So what we see is that 90% of a child's brain growth happens in the first 5 years of life, yet we don't invest as a country in those first critical 5 years to the degree that we should. So what we're calling for is an investment in home visiting programs that are results-based and effective, that help prepare kids and families to enter kindergarten ready to learn. We're calling for early childhood education services for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, early Head Start, increasing the quality and accessibility for childcare in New Mexico and across the country. And then, of course, we're calling for an investment in early ed, those first, second, and third grades. Because if a kid is not reading at grade level by the end of third grade, that kid's going to struggle in elementary school and in high school, may not graduate from high school. And if kids not graduating from high school in America today, they're going to struggle in the job market. They need at least that high school degree to pursue maybe post-secondary education or to get a skill. But it's all based on literacy and math. And if we don't invest in those crucial first few years of life, kids enter kindergarten so far behind. We're going to spend millions and billions of dollars trying to remediate them. And in many cases, it doesn't work.
And of course, last year you came to New Mexico and talked to some of our elected officials about early childhood education, expanding the programs. It's a debate we've been having here for a number of years. What did you find when you came to Santa Fe and talked to Governor Lujan Grisham and some of the state lawmakers about early childhood education?
Well, Save the Children Action Network, which I'm the president of, which is Save the Children's advocacy arm, endorsed Governor Lujan Grisham in the primary because she had a strong position on early childhood investment and investing in that. So we were excited when she won. And she has put her money where the state of New Mexico's money where her mouth is, and made investments into early childhood education, high quality. It's important that it's high quality. And this session right now, I know there are cuts going to be made, but we want to make sure that those cuts are minimal. And when it comes to those first 5 years of life,
you and I've talked before. Poverty and tackling poverty has been a passion of yours. What is driving this passion, and what is at stake if we do not tackle poverty right near at this moment in this country's history?
I mean, you look, Russell, at what's going on in this country when a kid who is 4 years of age living in poverty is 18 months behind, our kids when they were 4. Okay, that means they're 18 months socially, emotionally, and cognitively behind our kids, and they spend the rest of their lives trying to catch up. So it's a completely uneven playing field by the age of 4. And when people talk about what's the best ROI for public investments, if we get those kids at grade level entering kindergarten, they're going to be able to pursue whatever their dreams are, whether they want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a veterinarian, a car mechanic, whatever it is. If a kid has a good education, they can pursue their dreams. If they can't, we're going to spend millions and billions of dollars in education, in juvenile delinquency, and adult correction system, on social services. So to me, it's the most important social justice issue in the country right now.
There's an election coming up this year. It's a presidential election. We'll be debating a number of things, from the response to the coronavirus to our economy. But there are a number of people who are trying to get poverty as a major issue in this campaign. 50 years after the Kerner report said basically the same thing, that there's a growing gap between those who are in extreme poverty and who have wealth. Why should poverty be a main issue in the upcoming presidential campaign when we have other things that should be addressing in this election?
I think if you look at the issue where there's so many families in this country that are food insecure today that weren't 4 months ago. And there are millions of families that were food insecure before the pandemic hit. And it's hard to believe that in the richest country in the history of the world that there are kids, 1 in 4 kids in New Mexico that are food insecure, don't know where their meals are coming from. We have over 30 million kids in this country that rely on schools to deliver breakfast and lunch. Those kids don't have access to those meals this summer. And their families are struggling. I mean, come on, this is the United States of America. We got to be doing better for our people than saying we're willing to allow 1 in 4 kids in New Mexico be food insecure every day. And we got to be able to do better than to say, look, by the age of 4, if you live in poverty in America, you're not going to be able to compete against, Mark Shriver's kids or kids that are in the middle class. It should be the number one issue. It was, as you said, came out under the Johnson administration. Michael Harrington wrote about the other America some 50 some odd years ago. No kidding, there's another America. Let's wake up and smell the coffee and make a difference. And that's what I think Governor Lujan Grisham is talking about doing in New Mexico. And we're going to work with her and hold her accountable and push her and be alongside of her as she does that when it comes to early childhood education.
Mark, thank you for joining us here on New Mexico in Focus. Really appreciate you making the time for us.
Thanks for having me, Russell. Really appreciate it.